Hello students, welcome to All Force e-learning channel. This is K. Nageshwar Rao, your physics faculty. Today we are about to deal with session number 101. In this session, we'll discuss about heating effects of current. In the previous session, we have discussed about potentiometer and its applications. All applications like calibration of ammeter, voltmeter, finding internal resistance, comparing EMFs of cells, comparing resistances, all these applications we have seen. Okay, so now in this session, I'm going to start with heating effects of current. Okay, so what do you mean by that? Heating effects of current. See, when current flows through a circuit, through a load, through a resistance, what happens? Some heat energy will be liberated. Yes, it happens. If a electrical gadget, if it runs for a long time, it gets heated. It gets heated. You can touch it and you can feel that heat, isn't it? So why is that happening? See, when current is flowing through a conducting wire, what is actually flowing? Charge is flowing, isn't it? See, whatever free electrons are available inside the conductor, they already possess certain amount of thermal kinetic energy because of temperature at which they are maintained. Even at room temperature also they possess some thermal kinetic energy. They will be moving randomly. Okay, and net motion will be zero, so that there won't be any current if it is not provided with any potential difference. So now what happens if you provide potential difference? All those electrons will be streamlined in a particular direction, and some additional force starts acting on those electrons. Because of that, some additional kinetic energy gets added in addition to already existing thermal kinetic energy. So when this additional kinetic energy got added to these electrons, they will be aligned in a particular direction, and they will be moving in a particular direction. When they are moving, what happens? They frequently collide with the atomic sides of the conductor. So because of that, what happens? The atoms of the conductor, they starts vibrating, and heat energy will be liberated, isn't it? So that's how kinetic energy of the electrons, whatever extra amount of kinetic energy they are getting after the supplying, after the potential difference is being supplied, that energy is transferred to the atoms, and they will vibrate, and eventually, what happens? The conductor gets heated up. So whatever work here you are doing to set the charges into motion, that work is converted into kinetic energy of the charges, and that kinetic energy is transferred to the atoms, and that is in turn converted into heat energy. So whatever work you are doing to maintain flow of charge, that work done is getting converted into heat energy. So that's why when a electronic gadget runs for a long time, and if you touch that, whatever the heat energy you feel it, that heat energy is liberated because of this reason. So let us try to put everything in a proper way. Let us write expressions for heat energy liberated. Let us write expressions for work done to maintain the charge. Okay, so let us continue. Heating effects of current. I will consider one small circuit in which one resistance is present, like this. Let us say the resistance of this resistor is R. Let a current I is flowing through the circuit. Okay, let potential difference across this resistance be V. Potential difference is V. Now, this current I flowing in the circuit can be expressed as I is equal to Q by T, the average value of the current, isn't it? So, this Q is what? Charge that is flowing through the resistor. Okay. Further, this can be written as Q is equal to I into T. This is a known fact. Already we have seen this. This is a very fundamental equation belonging to electric current. Further, work done to maintain this charge. How that work done can be written? Work done can be expressed as potential multiplied with the charge. Isn't it? How do we define potential? Potential is defined as work done per unit charge. So work done is work done can be expressed as V into Q. And what is Q here? Q is IT. Therefore, this work done can be expressed as V into IT. So this is what the expression for work done. And just now, when I have given the introduction, I told you whatever work is being done by the cell, by the battery, that work done gets converted into kinetic energy of the electrons, and that kinetic energy eventually gets converted into heat energy, isn't it? So here, whatever this work done is there, okay, that gets converted into heat energy, and you can write heat energy is equal to work done, which is equal to VIT, where T is time, I is current, V is potential difference across the resistor, and W is work done, which is nothing but heat energy liberated. Or separately let us write H is equal to VIT. And this V can be replaced with IR, isn't it? So if V is replaced with IR, I into I square into RT. So finally, this is where we have ended up. Heat energy liberated is equal to, or heat dissipated is equal to I square RT. I square RT. Particularly this equation is called as, Joule's law equation. This is called as Joule's law equation. I'll tell you what that is. Joule's law. Joule's law equation. Joules has made several experiments to understand on what factors this heat energy liberated when current is flowing through a conductor depends. He knows that there is a liberation of heat energy, there is a heat dissipation, but all that he tried to know is on what factors it depends. And eventually, after doing several investigations, this is what equation he has ended up with. Okay, so he came to know that this heat energy liberated depends on current, resistance, and time for how long the current is maintained in the circuit. For more time, if current is circulating through the circuit or passing through the resistor, what happens? There will be more heat energy liberated, isn't it? Right. So, and whatever here this work done is there, you can call this as electrical energy supplied. Electrical energy supplied to maintain the charge. Electrical energy. So whenever you face any question related to electrical energy, directly you can pick up this equation, and that is eventually, it's nothing but heat dissipated, isn't it? So that's how these things are interconnected. So let us talk about this equation a little bit more. See here, what did I write? W is written as H. So here, if more work is done by the cell, what does it mean? Cell is trying to maintain more current inside the circuit. So if more work is done, more heat liberation will be there, isn't it? So what equation you can write between W and H? So W is directly proportional to H. Like this, you can have one relation. Okay, or this can also be written as W is equal to JH, where J is constant of proportionality, and this J specifically it is called as Joule's mechanical equivalent of heat. There is a reason for bringing this J into the picture. When you deal with the problems, students always confused. They are confused with this J value. See students, if W and H, W is basically expressed in terms of joules, and H is expressed in terms of calories or joules. Heat energy can also be expressed in terms of calories as well as joules. Okay, if both are expressed in same units like joules, if W and H are expressed in joules, then J value will be taken as mechanical equivalent of heat will be taken as 1. If W is in joules and H is in calories, then J value will be taken as 2.4. For example, how do we write calorie? 1 calorie is equal to 2.4 joules. Isn't it? 1 calorie is equal to 2.4 joules. So if this kind of form you should apply, you should get. When it is possible, when you replace J with 2.4, then only you will be able to get 1 calorie is equal to 2.4 joules. That relation can be obtained. So remember, when both W and H are expressed in joules, J will be replaced with 1. If W is in joules and H is in calorie, you have to replace J with 2.4. So this information helps us to handle the problems. Okay, now let us proceed ahead with a few other details connected with this one. The equations that we have written, work done is expressed as VIT or I square RT, and on the other hand, heat is also expressed as I square RT. Okay, so here I square, both are in fact the same, isn't it? That's what our conclusion was earlier. I square RT, joules. If it is expressed in calories, you have to modify equation like this, divided by 4.2 calories. Just now I told you J. Here actually Divide by J will be there. So that J, in this case, it's 1. Here it is 4.2. Okay, so let us get back to this one. Here, this one or that one, you can call it as electric energy. Energy is usually expressed in terms of what units? Joules. Units of energy. What? Joules. Isn't it? And it can also be expressed in terms of another units called kilowatt hour. Okay, kilowatt hour. So 1 kilowatt hour is equal to how much? Let us try to find out that. 1 kilowatt hour. Kilo in the sense 10 power 3, isn't it? Watt. Watt is expressed as joule per second, isn't it? Watt. Basically, power is expressed in terms of watts. Power is written as work done by time. Work done is expressed in joules. Time is in seconds. So this watt can be replaced with joule per second into an hour. How many seconds will be there in an hour? 3600 seconds. Now seconds gets cancelled, and finally what you are ended up with. So 3.6 into 10 power 6 joules. So remember students, 1 kilowatt hour is equal to 3.6 into 10 power 6 joules. Okay, this is one important conclusion. Let us get back to this one. Here, whatever equation I have written, I called it as Joule's law's equation. Joule's law's mathematical equation. If at all, if you wanted to put Joule's law in the mathematical form, what you can do is, you can say like this. According to Joule's law, heat dissipated or heat energy liberated when a current is flowing in a conductor of resistance R for a time t, that heat energy is directly proportional to square of the current passing through the resistance, and it is directly proportional to resistance of the resistor, and it is also directly proportional to time for which the current is flowing inside the resistance. So that's how the Joule's law can be concluded. So these three things together can be called as Joule's law's statement. Okay, so these are some points. Let us proceed ahead with electric power. Okay, let us talk about electric power. Now let us consider electric power. Electric power. So basically power is expressed as work done by time, isn't it? Rate of doing work. So power is equal to work done by time, and this work done can be replaced with VQ by T here, and Q by T can be replaced with I, current, isn't it? So power is equal to VA. These details were already given to you in the previous sessions. Okay, when we have discussed about maximum power transfer theorem. Okay, before the discussion of cells, we have discussed about power. Power is equal to VI, and this can be further modified as I square R also, because V can be replaced with, according to Ohm's law, IR. So IR into I square R. Okay, so this is how you can actually talk about power. Okay, so here further it can be modified as multiply to the numerator and denominator with R. Then what you will have, I square R square by R, or this can be written as P is equal to what? V square by R. Like that, in different forms you can express power. So let me conclude here regarding power. Power is expressed as VI, or it can also be expressed as I square R, or it can also be expressed as V square by R. So in all these three forms the power can be expressed. Okay, so now let us talk about heating effect again. Okay, how much amount of heat energy will be liberated when this much power is involved in the circuit? H is equal to I square RT, isn't it? H is equal to I square RT. With Joule's mechanical equivalent of heat, you can write this as H is equal to I square RT by J. Okay, right. Here I'll consider a small wire like this. Okay, let its length be L. Length is L. Let its radius of this wire is R. What is the radius of cross section of the wire? R. Okay. Let its mass is M. Okay. Let its temperature is raised by delta theta. Current is flowing through the conductor and temperature is raised by how much? Delta theta. Let its specific heat is S. What is the specific heat of this wire? S. All of you are familiar with this one. If temperature rises by delta theta, how much heat energy it might have received because of a flow of current? Heat energy received will be H is equal to ms delta theta, isn't it? Ms delta theta. In first year you are taught about these kind of details. Okay, amount of whatever amount of heat energy you supply to your body, that heat energy will be utilized to raise the temperature. And if you know the rise in temperature as delta theta, and you can write expression for heat energy given to the body as ms delta theta, where m is the mass of the material and the s is specific heat. Specific heat, whenever you remember specific heat, whenever you recollect the specific heat, you should recollect specific heat of water also. Even in this chapter, you will have questions based on what heating water with the help of heater, electric heater. Okay, so there you need knowledge of specific heat of water. Specific heat of water, it is expressed as 1 calorie per gram per degree Celsius, or in terms of joules and case, how it can be expressed: 4200 joules per case per degree Celsius. Calorie can be replaced with what? 4.2 joules. In fact, calorie is more accurately, more precisely 4.18, something like that. Okay, so usually for calculation purpose, we take 1 calorie as 4.2 joules. If at all in the question, if he mentions that calorie is equal to 4.18, you have to take it like that only. So I have taken 4.2, and per gram is there, no? So that can be replaced with a 10 power minus 3. When it comes to the numerator, you'll have 4.2 multiplied with 1000, so 4200 joule per case per degree. So just remember that one. If we are dealing with some other material apart from water, okay, concerned specific heat details will be given in the question. So let us say this is what amount of heat energy utilized to raise the temperature of the body by how much? Delta theta. Now, from this equation already we have how much amount of heat energy is liberated. Okay, so both are equal, right? So what you can write here, I square RT by J is equal to ms delta theta. Ms delta theta, isn't it? Now, from this equation, this T can be written as ms delta theta into J by I square R. I square R. If you want this R can be replaced with what? In terms of length, you can write, isn't it? How it can be written? R can be replaced with rho into L by A. When we have started this current electricity chapter, one of the very important conclusion was dependence of resistance on length and area. There one constant of proportionality arises, that was called as resistivity, electrical resistivity, isn't it? So this R can be replaced with what? Rho L by A. So, and what about mass? I'm going to replace mass with density into volume. Density into volume. Okay. So here density into volume. Volume can be written as cross-section area multiplied with length. What is cross-section area? Pi r square into length. Okay. And what about this resistance? Resistance can be replaced with resistivity multiplied with L by area. Area is how much? Pi r square. Cross-section area of the wire, isn't it? So let us replace all those things here. Let us see what finally we will be able to obtain. M I am going to replace with D into pi r square into L. Okay, capital M. Here length of the conductor is L. Into delta theta, rise in temperature, multiplied with J, mechanical equivalent of heat. So I square and rho L, this pi r square goes to the numerator again, pi r square. So L gets cancelled, and finally you are ended up with this one, pi square r power 4 delta theta into J by what? I square rho. So this is what the time taken for the rise of temperature by how much? Delta theta. If at all, if he is talking about melting point of the wire, you can calculate using this equation, isn't it? In delta theta, what you will be having at room temperature, whatever temperature initially it was having, okay, and finally at melting point, that temperature will also be given. Okay, or if we are supposed to find out that temperature, we can find out this delta theta can be replaced with the melting point minus the initial temperature at which the conductor was maintained. Okay, now let us try to understand this equation. If you look at this equation, time in which the temperature rises by delta theta is independent of length of the conductor provided for a given amount of current. Independent of length of the conductor in the sense, if I keep on increasing the length, okay, what happens to the what the current changes? Current changes, isn't it? So for a given value of current, irrespective of length, this T remains constant. T remains constant. Okay, and one more thing, here dependence of T can also be written like this. What? T is directly proportional to R power 4 on radius of the cross section. Okay, so these are some important conclusions connected with the time in which temperature of the conductor rises by delta theta. So what this equation is? Time in which the temperature of the wire rises by delta theta. Okay, this thing is basically used to deal with fuse wires. Fuse wire is something that is used in all kinds of electronic gadgets. Even in your houses also we use fuse wires. Fuse wire basically it is made up of an alloy, tin and lead. Okay, something whose resistance is more and melting point is low. What the job of this fuse wire is? If there is a heavy flow of current, okay, then what happens? Or if there is any short circuit issues, then what happens? It burns. It melts very quickly when compared to rest of any other wires. This tin lead alloy was chosen as a fuse wire because its resistance is more. Once the resistance is more, what happens to the heat energy liberated? Heat energy liberated will be more. It gets heated up very quickly, isn't it? And if melting point is low, so very quickly it reaches its melting point, isn't it? So these are the two advantages of having tin lead alloy as fuse wire. Something whose resistance is more and melting point is low. So once there is a heavy flow of current, or if there is any short circuit, what happens? So first it reaches to melting point quickly and it burns. Okay, and what happens? The circuit gets disconnected. It is always connected in series with electrical gadgets. So in series, if one thing breaks, it's like circuit is open. Okay, so that's how you can save rest of the things from any kind of electrical disturbances. Okay, so that is the advantage of this equation. You can find out in how much time a given wire reaches to its melting point. Okay, so let us continue ahead with some other details connected with this one. What did we write for heat energy produced in the wire? It is expressed as H is equal to I square RT if it is in joules. If it is in calorie, by J. What you will take? Divided by J. So let us say it is expressed in joules. So we have H is equal to I square RT, and from here I'll write it as H by T is equal to I square R. It means heat produced per unit time. H by T, and this I'll take it as H dash. H dash is equal to I square R. Okay. So now what happens? When current is flowing, what is happening? Heat energy is produced. So the conductor becomes very hot. It becomes a source of heat energy, isn't it? So if that is the situation, now it can radiate energy, isn't it? It can radiate energy. I will assume that let H naught be energy radiated. What energy? Heat energy. Heat energy radiated per unit area. Heat energy radiated per unit area. Okay. Therefore, heat energy radiated per unit area is what? H naught. Just some time before I have taken a wire whose dimensions are defined as radius as R, length as L, and what about its area, curved surface area? Curved surface area will be 2 pi R into L, isn't it? 2 pi R into L. Therefore, total heat liberated or total heat radiated is equal to, per unit area, how much amount of heat energy is radiated? H naught. Over area equal to 2 pi R into L, how much heat energy will be radiated? H naught into 2 pi R L. Okay. And once, if there are no any other energy losses, if equilibrium is attained, okay, whatever amount of heat energy is produced, that much amount of heat energy will be radiated. Okay. So under what condition? Under thermal equilibrium. Under thermal equilibrium, amount of heat energy produced, which is H dash, is equal to amount of heat energy radiated. How much is that energy? H naught into 2 pi R into L. This H dash is how much? I square R. I square R, which is equal to H naught 2 pi R L. Okay. So let us write an equation for H naught. H naught from this equation, how it can be written? I square R by 2 pi R L, isn't it? R in terms of Resistivity, how this can be modified? I square into rho L by 2 pi r L. Here, rho L by A will be there. What is A? Pi r square. So finally, this H naught can be reduced as I square rho LL gets cancelled by 2 pi into pi square r cube. So that's how this H naught can be expressed. According to Newton's law of cooling. See, Newton's law of cooling, it was already discussed, in the previous year. Newton's law of cooling, what is that? Heat energy radiated will be directly proportional to temperature difference. And in the present case, how it can be stated? Heat energy radiated will be directly proportional to rise in temperature. Rise in temperature. Initially, the conductor was at some temperature. When the current has passed through the conductor, its temperature is raised. More the temperature rise, temperature difference will be more. If temperature difference is more, heat energy radiated will be more. Okay, so according to Newton's law of cooling, according to Newton's law of cooling, what you can write? H naught is directly proportional to increase in temperature. Increase in temperature. Here I will take this increase in temperature as theta. I will take it as theta. Therefore, H naught is directly proportional to theta. And what you can do if this kind of situation arises, you can introduce one constant of proportionality. Let K be constant of proportionality here. Now, what is H naught? This is our H naught, right? So, I square rho by 2 pi r square r cube is equal to K theta. Therefore, rise in temperature, theta is equal to, how it can be written? I square rho by 2 pi square r cube into K. And here also, if you see, this rise in temperature is independent of length of the conductor. It is not dependent on the length of the conductor. And, that too, for a particular value of current. This point is very important. This theta is independent of length of the conductor for a particular value of the current. Okay. So here from this equation, another conclusion that you can draw is I square is directly proportional to r cube. Okay. So like this, rise in temperature and the time in which a specific rise in temperature will be there. These things can be handled. Okay. So let us try to solve one or two problems based on this one. Let us try this question. The charge flowing through a resistance R varies with the time t as Q is equal to AT minus BT squared. So charge is given as dependent on time. Where A and B are positive constants, the total heat produced in R is. So we have to find out total heat produced in R. So let us try. Here Q is given as AT minus BT square. If at all, if you wanted to find out total heat produced, what you need, H is equal to I square RT. What we don't know here, we don't know what I is. Okay. So let us see. Let us calculate I. This I can be written as dQ by dt. Isn't it? So dQ by dt is what? A minus 2bt. D by dt of t is 1. D by dt of t square is 2t. So A minus 2bt. So let us take it as equation number 1. Now see here. At t is equal to 0. It means initially, what is the charge? It's 0. If charge is 0, corresponding current will be 0. It means initial current in the circuit is 0. Okay, in the resistance is 0. At I equal to 0, what you can write? A minus 2bt equal to 0. That implies t is equal to A by 2b. T is equal to A by 2b. See here, at t is equal to 0, I is 0. At t is equal to A by 2b also, I is 0. What does it mean? It means like initially it is 0 and finally it was 0 after the current has flown through the resistance. Okay, so here limits of time, we came to know 0 to A by 2b. Okay, so for a time equal to A by 2b seconds, the current has, is allowed through the resistance. So let us find out heat energy liberated. Let a small amount of heat energy liberated over an interval equal to dt, over a small interval dt can be expressed as I square r dt. Okay, so this is the small amount of heat energy produced over a time equal to dt. So total amount of heat energy produced is equal to integral, what are the limits? 0 to a by 2b I square r dt. Integral, you can take out r out of the integration. It's a constant, it doesn't vary with the time. Resistance value, a by 2b. What is I? I is this one, a minus 2bt. So a minus 2bt whole square into dt. This can be further modified as 0 to a by 2b. Expand this one, a square plus 4b square t square minus 4abt into dt. Okay, so individually, if all these terms are integrated, I hope all of you remember this formula, integral x power n dx. It is expressed as x power n plus 1 by n plus 1. So in here, integral a square dt. Here this integration is in terms of x, here it is in terms of t. So r into a square, there is no any t, right? Time is not there. So integral dx kind of thing. Integral dx is what? X. So integral dt is t. So here what you will have? A square into t plus 4b square. This can be written as t cube by 3, because integral t square dt is equal to t cube by 3, or integral x square dx is x power 2 plus 1 3 by 2 plus 1 3 minus 4ab. Integral t dt is t square by 2. And what are the limits that we have to apply? 0 to what? A by 2b. Okay, let us apply the limits. No need to worry about this 0. When you replace t with 0, all these terms vanishes. So just replace with a by 2b. What you will have? A square into a by 2b plus 4b square into t cube, a cube by 8b cube, and here in the denominator 1 3 is present, minus 4ab into t square, a square by 4b square, and 1 2 is present here. 4 gets cancelled, b gets cancelled. Here also 4 2s are b square and b cube, and here, yeah, it is intact. You no need to disturb that. Now further, how it can be finally concluded? H is equal to r into a cube by 2b plus, here what do you have? A cube, 3 2s are 6b minus, what you have? A into a square, a cube by 2b, isn't it? So let us modify that. Let us simplify that. What you will have? H is equal to r into, you can take out a cube by 2b common, then you will have 1 plus 1 by 3 minus 1, or directly here itself you can cancel these two terms. So then finally the conclusion will be r a cube by 6b. So this is what the heat energy produced. Okay, so that's how you can solve. Let us try one more problem. Now let us discuss about this problem. Two cities are 150 kilometers apart. Electric power is sent from one city to another city through copper wires. Okay. The fall of potential per kilometer is 8 volts. Fall of potential per 8 kilometers is how much? 1 kilometer is how much? 8 volts. Fall of potential for 1 kilometer is 8 volts. It means over a distance of 150 kilometers, how much potential drop will be there? 150 into 8, isn't it? And the average resistance per kilometer is 0.5. Per kilometer, how much is the resistance? 0.5 ohms per kilometer. For a distance of 150 kilometers, how much will be the resistance of the copper wire? 150 into 0.5. So here, indirectly, we were able to access total resistance offered by the copper wire and total potential drop across the copper wire. If these two things are known to us, can't we find power losses in the wire? Yes, of course. Just now we have discussed about power loss. Power loss can be calculated as V into I. In terms of resistance, how it can be written? In terms of resistance and potential drop, V square by R. We have seen three forms, right? Or this can also be written as I square R. We can be replaced with the IR. So IR into I square R. So let us make use of this equation. P is equal to V square by R. Now here, what is the total potential drop across the copper wire that is extending between these two cities? 150 into per kilometer 8 volts drop is there. So how much you will get? 1200 volts. 1200 volts. What about resistance? Per kilometer it is 0.5. So how many kilometers of wire? 150. So 150 into 0.5. So what you will have? 75 ohms. So this is the total resistance offered by the copper wire. So let us substitute these two values in this equation and find out what power loss is. Power loss P is equal to V square, 1200 square, or you can write like this, 12 square into 10 power 4 divided by 75. This is equal to 144, 75 into 10 power 4. Okay, it can be further, approximately it is equal to 1.9 into 10 power 4, or this can be written as 19,000 watts or 19 kilowatts. So the power loss is equal to how much? 19 kilowatts. Okay, so that's how these problems can be solved. Okay, students. So today we have discussed about heating effects of the current, and still some extended discussion is there. We'll do that in the next session. What we have seen here, H, heat energy produced, is written, is identified as I square RT according to Joule's law. And later we have dealt with electric power, we have dealt with the electric energy, we have dealt with one constant called Joule's mechanical equivalent of heat, and we have dealt with time in which temperature rises by delta theta, okay, or dependence of change in temperature on current or on radius. All these things we have seen. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you, students.